Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of It's a Sure Thing, the conscious community collective show that is a platform to showcase amazing people or ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And just remembering that we're all amazing in our own right. And when we are living our authentic truth, that's when we can really shine and make and have a perfect example to lead and show others. So thanks all for joining us tonight. If you have got any friends or family that you'd like to know that that we're going live, that would be great to have you on board. Hi to Ree, she comes every week if she can, so thanks a lot, Ree. And yeah, wonderful to be here on the other side of the world, literally. Thank you. Yes, so we're going to, without further ado, introduce our guest for this evening. She's an amazing woman. She's got that many different things, over 20 years of working and experience. She's a holistic psychonomist. She does body talk. She does art therapy. She does transpersonal counseling, numerology. She's a therapeutic massage therapist, and she does Eastern, can't get my words out tonight. Eastern, Western and modern cupping. And she's also the author of her book called The Gold Mine to Consciousness, which is what the topic is tonight for our show. So please welcome to the show this evening, Rosemary Bennett, the Psychonomist. Hi, Rosemary, how are you?
Hi, Sue. I'm fabulous. Thank you. So thank you so much for having me here this evening.
Oh, you are more than welcome. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for coming along to the Enlightened Tribe convoy a few weeks ago, where we actually met in person.
We did.
After all these years, and one of the things that you did for the group of the tribe was a guided meditation on the beach with a few samples of some amazing Andara crystals.
Yes, I did. So I've been collecting them for about 2 years and didn't really understand why I couldn't stop and still can't stop buying them. And about probably 6 weeks ago, I really started to look into understanding more about them and getting more information on them. And then I got like, oh, that's why they're coming into my life. So Andara crystals kind of choose us. And so, yes, I've been collecting them. And at first I would have little ones, like, you know, they look like glass. So I would collect little ones. And then they started to kind of get bigger and what I call more beautiful.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then they got bigger. So the bigger the Andara, the more power it has.
Yes.
And so, yes, they've been taking over my life.
And you're wearing a beautiful one there.
Yes. Yeah, there's not many people that actually cut them because they can just explode. It's a funny thing. Andaras have their own consciousness. Their consciousness is higher than ours. And their frequency is about 40 hertz. How can I put this? They are pure love. They don't need charging. They can balance your chakras. They can help assist your DNA to go from carbon to crystalline. So that's another reason that I have them. And they're manifestors. So it's always good to be very positive around an Andara because they will up to 1,000 times faster manifest what we want. But if we're negative around them, then that's probably not a good idea. So I've found that since I've had them in the house, and if someone's on the massage table, they are underneath doing their thing. And if someone is having a psychonomy and body talk session, they actually I put them on the bed and they choose. So, you know, they might choose, you know, like a pink, or they might like some pastels. This is like solid. This is like a pastel.
Yeah.
And they will choose which ones they would like and where they want them on or around their body. And then the Andara just does its thing, and I continue to do the energy side of the body talk that I do. So I kind of just let them
do their thing. Yes. Well, I had the privilege of coming to see you last week as well, and I actually experienced what you do with the body talk and also the crystals and everything, and it was absolutely amazing. You also guided me to purchase the book, the Astrology of the Soul.
For the soul, Jan Spiller.
Yes, which is a great book, and I'm sure you've got that somewhere as well. There we go. Beautiful. So that was spot on, because you do numerology as well. So when
I do, yes. I only use the North Node but I found out about 8 weeks ago that the North Node, not being an astrologer, is the most important part of the chart, astrology chart. And then I went, oh, that's why I use it.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I came to see you, it wasn't just one thing. It was this whole, it was a long session, but it was an incredible session. And there was so much information that you had to share. It could sometimes be a bit overwhelming for people, but I was kind of able to take it all in and loved it. So, and the other thing that you do is you work with families, don't you? You work with teenagers and children and the whole family dynamics to look at things that's external to bring them internal. So can you explain a little bit about that, please?
Okay, so my youngest client was actually in the womb. So the mother came in for a session, and I said to her, are you having a boy? And she goes, yes. I've never met her before. And I said, I know this sounds weird, but I said, he wants a session. So it's funny, I did a session. I can use someone as a surrogate. So I can use the mother as a surrogate. So if someone's got a child running around the room and they're here for the child, I can just use the mother as a surrogate. The child can continue running around the room. So
right.
Yeah, so it's really hard sometimes to get a child to lay down. So if they don't want to, they don't have to. And that's also why I can work remotely. Doesn't matter where in the world someone is, I can still work with them. So this little guy wanted a personality change. And when he was born, his mother totally got this bright-eyed, smiley baby that came out. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
When I work with a family, so I only work with the person in the room. So if I'm working, I do a lot of work with relationships. And I work with the person that's sitting opposite me. So I only work with couples together if they've both had at least 1 or 2 sessions separately, because people just get defensive when the other person's there. And it's never about the other person. It's always about the person that's in front of me. And Sue, as you know, because you've had a session, it's hard for someone to understand when they go, but that person is doing this. My partner is. But when I take someone through this 2 hours, I show you yourself from an esoteric, unseen view, where you get to see self and shift your consciousness to internal instead of external.
Yeah.
And then people don't realize, or they do to a point, but they don't realize while they're in the session. But once they start to let go of old patterns, they let go of ways of being, they get the aha moments, they yawn a lot usually. And then when they go back out into the world, they don't see the mirror, or they don't see people doing the same thing, because people are there to mirror back at us what we do to ourselves. So when someone becomes more conscious and more awake and aware and gets why they're here and what they truly are, then the mirroring stops. So I have many, many people who've come to me, their partner has never come to me, and their relationship completely shifts. Or a relationship with particularly parents. It's very easy to say, well, my dad did this or my mum did that, or if my mother hadn't, if. And when someone has been to me, they usually get a very different view of their parents. And then when they often next see them, it's different, and the mirroring stops or it reduces. So, if we don't do our lessons, they just get bigger and bigger, and they slap us in the face. So you might as well do them.
Absolutely. They're going to keep coming back. Thank you for explaining it. That was a really good way to explain it. Adair's just asked a question. Thank you, Adair. Is there any particular issue you work with most? And I know you work with addiction.
Yes. Okay. So I work with relationship issues. I work with addiction of drugs. I work with, I just today I had a client contact me who I worked with after she'd had unsuccessful IVF. And she came to me and was due then to go and have her IVF. And then after she contacted me and said, I'm 20 weeks pregnant. Well, today she sent me a gorgeous picture of her baby and with a couple of big hearts. And she said, thank you, Rosemary. So I have produced a few babies for others, not mine. So, yes. Look, there's really nothing I don't work with. Anxiety, depression. I work a lot with people who suffer anxiety and depression. I work with people who are dying. So I work with people so that they can, I know this sounds a strange thing to say, but so they can die in peace and they're not leaving unfinished business with family members when they die. So I do work with the terminally ill. Who else do I work with? Like I say, really anybody. Yeah. I have people who have a disease, a dis-ease, and so I've had people come to me who I've worked with, and their back that's been sore for years isn't sore anymore. I have had someone fairly close to me who had major enlarged lymphs in their stomach, and did some sessions. It was all the emotional stuff, and went back to the oncologist, and no enlarged limbs. So we create our own disease. So if we create it, we can move it on to.
We can shift it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
The other question, Adair, thank you. The other question, do you work with the families of people who are dying as well?
I had a gentleman who was stage 4 cancer, and I worked with his wife and all separately, his wife and his son and his daughter. And I worked with them after his passing. So he had 3 sessions with me before he passed, and he had this real issue with a brother, and it was gone. He left in such a better way. And yes, his family came to see me to work through that. So I've studied death and dying and loss and leaving. So I have quite a different view. And when people have a different view of what death is and why, before we die, what happens to us, that has to happen. I'll explain it. So what happens is we can get dis-ease that we can heal. But I don't know about you, but I don't at this point know how to leave my body. I don't know how to retract myself, and because I'm not this body, and leave, which means I've got to get something that is going to take the body to a place where it's going to die. So I'm forced kind of out of my body. So that's where many people are. And I don't mean to confuse people by saying that, because you're only getting a little bit. But it basically, when I explain through the session, people then understand, so yeah, I will work with people who have a fear of death. And when I explain about death, and they're not frightened of death anymore.
Yeah. You change the perspective, or they change their own perspective with your guidance, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Adair's just asked, is there an average number of sessions before a successful outcome? One. Perfect. So you better book in.
So I have, if I'm really honest, my session is so effective that people often only need one. Not good for business. but for me, that's integrity, that if someone only needs one and I can shift them to a place that they take responsibility for their life and they see themselves in a different place, then I'm humbled that they allowed me that. One of the things that happens is when people come in and have a session and they go out in the world, often people say, oh, you seem calmer, you seem different. What have you done? And people say, I went and saw this woman. Sometimes they've already heard of me. Sometimes they haven't. And they say, what does she do? And they try and describe what happens in the room, and they can't describe it. And so they say, I can't describe it. I just really feel different. And so they say, just go and see her.
Yes.
So I have people who have my phone number for like 2 years.
Yes. Yes.
Because they come in quite nervous, but I just talk to you, like we have a conversation. We do a bit of this, give you
Nothing to
some
be afraid
knowledge.
of.
Yeah, it's just really easy. And then you get to lay on the table and I do some energy work and have a chat with you with your innate wisdom and my innate wisdom. And I do a protocol and we shift some memories that might be getting in the way, or we might do some body chemistry. I actually have been having a lot of success with people who've had the virus that's going around and they get left with symptoms, or it brings up trauma. And so I've been able to clear that with the Andaras and the body talk. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
So
really
if people
good.
can't get you work from Trinity Gardens, which is 4 kilometers out of the city, but if they can't get there, you can do it anywhere in the world. It's all energetic. So
it's all energetic.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. It
Beautiful.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where someone is. So
Okay. And Ree has asked, can you help someone to enable them to find a relationship?
Well, that's interesting because yes, if there's divine timing that they're meant to have one. So I teach people how to manifest, and a lot of people are really they think they're manifesting, but they're not. And so it's actually in my book, which I guess I've got a book out.
Yes,
and manifesting,
we're going to talk about that next.
Yeah, manifesting is in the book. Now, so I have had people who have been on their own or not had a job, and I've helped them manifest. A long time ago, before I was really doing what I'm doing, because everything I do is an evolution of things just dropping in.
Yeah.
It just drops in and I start doing something. I had a young Indian man come and live in my house. He'd been in Adelaide 2 days, and he had a very strong accent. And 6 weeks later, he said to me, if I don't get a job in 2 weeks, I have to go back to India. And I went, oh, okay. So I said to him, if you do exactly as I say, do you want to stay? He said, yes. If you do exactly what I say, I said, you'll have a job. He did exactly what I said, and he had a job and lived with me for 9.5 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, not my partner, just shared a house, but he's still in Australia and he worked. He never didn't have work. So yes, if there's divine timing for you to be in a relationship, I can certainly help that along. And I think also one of the things that Andaras are good for, so this big beauty, so Andaras can literally, you can look into an Andara and they can help you manifest. So I have people standing here in my window, especially during the day, holding up an Andara and looking into it, through it and into it, and asking for what they want. So they have that ability to help, because remember, their consciousness is higher than ours.
Yes.
So yes, I can help people with relationships if it is in divine timing. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Sally Smith's just come online, said, hello, I'm listening. So that's great.
Hi,
Thank
Sally.
you, Sally. Hi. And Adair's put, I love that. 8 years in therapy is too long. Yes, way too long. Too long. Something is not going right there at all.
Yeah. I had a lady come to me who'd been seeing a psychologist for 20 years. She had 6 sessions and she was done.
Yeah.
She probably didn't even need 6 sessions, but she came for 6. Yeah. So no, to me, it is, so you've had the session. So
I get it.
You know what it does. And it's like, it is hard to describe, but it is, I put little different things together. So I go from one place to another place, to another place, to another place. But each time I do that, each thing is building on telling you the person about themselves. So I look at your birth. So my background is a rebirther and breath worker. So that's the esoteric psychology. And by the way, psychology actually means study of the soul. So that's what I studied. So I will look at the way that you're born, as in, did you have the cord around the neck? Were you wanted? Did they want a boy or a girl? Were there drugs used? Were you a breech birth? Were you a cesarean, planned or emergency? how did you come into the world? Because that is in my book. I have been allowed to put the basics of that in my book. And so when working with that, people say, yes, that's me. Yes, that's me. But then we look at, well, why would we choose that? Because we choose our own birth. You hear the people, oh, I'm home birth and I'm going to do this and that. And then the next minute they're rushed off to hospital for a Caesar. And that's because the child not only wants that person or that couple as a parent or person, they also want a particular birth. So when we start to realize that we choose everything.
Yeah, it's so much easier, right? So much easier.
Yeah, it's really easy. And that's the thing, people expect or are told life has to be hard, but actually life does not have to be that way. And when we start to see ourselves through a different lens, then we don't have to change. We don't have to change anything. We just let go. It's just like chipping away at things that don't serve us. But if you don't know what your lessons are and we don't know what we're here for, then how can we work on that? Yep. So, yeah.
Surrender and trust as well. So, yeah, I've got another question, and then we're going to talk about your book. So, do you go into babies who are relinquished at birth, separated from their mother forever and adopted out? Do you assist?
Into babies who are relinquished at birth, separated from their mothers forever. I've worked with people who are adopted, and whoever is our family, even if we're adopted, is our spiritual family. And we often incarnate into the same family, which can mean if we're adopted out, you never know. Most likely the adopted parents are the parents, or we were someplace in that family before anyway. But yes, if there's active memory, if there's trauma around the adoption, or etc. I have people tell me things that they've never told anyone. So I have people who will tell me about they've been molested or raped or, all sorts of things that sometimes I'm the first person they've told. So I'm actually pretty easy to talk to. And that's the whole thing. In this room, everything's confidential. And I always say to people, take with you what works, leave what doesn't. You don't have to believe anything I say. And that gives people permission to just sit there and allow it. I also let people record this first session because there's a lot of info. And then in the person's own time, when they feel ready, they can go and listen. And it's really interesting to listen to oneself after someone has done a session, because we hear ourselves differently from during the session to after the session.
Beautiful. Thank you. We've got another question from Tony Murray from the Riverland. Hi, Tony. Can it help people recall forgotten information?
Sometimes an active memory in body talk will come up that a person maybe doesn't remember, or it's a slight thing. My understanding from my training is if someone has something not nice happen to them, they either stay in the body and remember it, or they float above the body and they can get flashbacks, or they go into a black hole, which they will never, you can't bring it back. And often my understanding is when that happens, the person actually personality splits and you get DID, disidentification disorder, where a person has different personalities that come in to take over so that they can manage their life. And actually that's a good thing, because if they don't, they're more likely to suicide.
Yes.
So it actually prevents suicide.
Absolutely.
So, I would have to speak to the person individually about what it is. I am very aware, because I had it done to me, that I went to see a psychic medium, whatever, and they told me something that to me, I don't believe ever happened. But what can happen is people can believe what someone else tells them, and it's actually not happened to them, and it's not their memory, and it's not true. So we do have to be very, very careful in who we listen to and how much of that we take on, because that may never have happened, and a person may be left with, oh, I was raped by someone, raped when I was, 4, but they don't have that memory. And if no one really was there that has told them that, then I'm always very cautious whether it actually did happen. I'm not saying it didn't.
Yeah.
But some people tell people things that shouldn't, they have no right to say that.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's my personal opinion.
Yes,
anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for your comments. Now let's have a quick chat because we haven't got long to go. The Gold Mine to Consciousness, your book. Ta-da.
Yes.
Look at that. That's gorgeous.
So I was told 30 years ago I'd write a book. And I went, yeah, what am I going to write a book about? All right. So on my 60th birthday, the book was on the table. So it just arrived in February this year. And the book is about the process I take the client through on the first session. So it's like a workbook, but not a real workbook. Like the first bit is, and I just take you through all the things I didn't have permission to put the North nodes in. So if you want to know those, you buy the book. And I've got that information. But the birth processes, about what each emotion we suppress, the drugs we use to suppress emotions, and lots of stuff, how to love yourself, and what is true service work, and the little voice technique, and beliefs and words that we use. So there's a lot in this. 33 chapters, and yeah, it's beautiful. I think it's a good book. So
they can either pick that up from you in Trinity Gardens, or you can post it out to them, or they can get it as an ebook, or they can get it on Amazon.
Yes.
Awesome.
It's available. So, but yes, it's like the missing secrets to self-love and empowered relationships.
Oh, love it. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much, Rosemary. It's been an absolute pleasure. I know you could talk for a lot longer. But yeah, it's been fantastic. We've got people saying excellent book, thank you so much, sounds amazing. So if anybody would like to book a session with you via Zoom or in person, they can go to the Enlightened Tribe Global Wellness Directory at sueshaw.com.au, or they can go to your website, thepsychonomist.com.au as well.
Yes.
And
you can ring me. Seriously, I don't have a booking. I like to work when I want to work, so I don't have a booking sheet. You just can call me or send me an email and we'll work out a time. So absolutely happy to do it that way. So
perfect. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody. All of the links are in the comments section. So, and we will be producing the blog article for this. So for those that want to pass this information on, they can rewatch it and rewatch the replay and the article in the next few days. So thank you very much. Keep shining and keep wearing those beautiful crystals. They're gorgeous. Oh, there was that quickly one thing. You are going to look at doing the monatomic Andara crystal meditation manifestation.
Yeah, if anyone's interested in doing meditation with the Andaras to manifest, I'm looking at starting that up in my home. It'll be an 8 maximum people that can fit in my lounge room. So please contact me, because I haven't put it up yet, but that's one of the things I'm intending to do.
Okay, so get in touch, PM Rosemary, and say, yes, I'm interested. All right, thank you. We got it all in. Yay! Thanks, everyone. See you.